As we think about God today, we worship God. Sometimes it's good for us to study our adversary so that we can be prepared to fight off Satan. And so this morning I want us to examine some ways in which Satan works in religious bodies. This is not a conclusive lesson. This is not a complete lesson. This is a partial lesson on how Satan works through religion to keep souls of human beings out of heaven and in his grasp for all of eternity. And so we begin with the devil's religion. The question is, does Satan love, or does Satan maybe appreciate, might be a better term, religion? Well, that's a question. And here's where I think the answer lies. And that is that Satan uses religion to keep men and women out of heaven. Sometimes Satan uses religion to even keep men and women, honest, good men and women, I might add, sometimes, from accepting something as simple as God's plan of salvation. It never ceases to amaze me when I'm studying with someone who does not believe that baptism is necessary for salvation, and we turn to 1 Peter chapter 3. And in verse 21, baptism which corresponds to this now saves you, not as a removal of dirt from the body, but as an appeal to God for a good conscience through the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Now, the Bible clearly states right here that baptism does now save us. And it explains it's not the physical act. It's the willingness to yield, and this is going to be a reoccurring theme throughout this lesson. It is a willingness to yield to the will of God. We may see absolutely nothing beneficial in getting in the water. That is a commandment of God. He that believeth and is baptized shall be saved. He that believeth not shall be condemned. How strong is your faith? Is it strong enough to be willing to yield to God's commandments? Satan uses that. Satan uses our stubborn will in order to prevent us from being obedient to the gospel of Christ. And Satan uses our stubborn will in order to deceive us. James says a man is drawn away of his own desires. Turn with me to what the Apostle Paul writes in 2 Timothy chapter 3. 2 Timothy chapter 3 and in verse 1, the Apostle Paul writes to this young preacher, he says, but understand this. Understand this, that in the last days there will come times of difficulty. Difficulty for who, Paul? Difficulty for the Christian. Difficulty for the disciple of Christ. Why? He says, for people will be lovers of self. You see, we want to do what makes me happy, what satisfies me. And all of these other things are built upon that one principle, lovers of self. He says lovers of money, proud. Sometimes, my grandfather, my maternal grandfather was a very proud man. He knew very well what he needed to do in order to be saved. He knew very well. He'd been married to my grandmother for 52 years. 52 years he heard the gospel. 52 years he knew what he needed to do. My grandfather actually even took his clothes and met the preacher at the creek and his brother-in-law didn't show up, and my grandfather refused to get in the water without his brother-in-law. My grandfather died in that state. Now, I'll not pass judgment upon what God may extend grace, but I do know what the Bible teaches, and I have very little hope. Sometimes I believe that our pride gets in the road. He says arrogant, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, heartless, unappeasable, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not loving good, treacherous, reckless, swollen with conceit, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God. Where do our priorities lie? But look at this. After he's listed all of these things, the Apostle Paul says, these people will have, he says, having the appearance of godliness, but denying its power. Avoid such people. Or among them are those who creep into houses and capture weak women burdened with sins and led astray by various passions, or your King James Version will say lust. And he goes right on down through talking about things that happened back in Moses' time. Guys, Satan uses religion and religious people sometimes to prevent them from obeying